Chapter 1. Prologue.
Welcome to the world of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading Card Game. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading Card Game is based on the Japanese comic Yu-Gi-Oh! And you too can experience the excitement. In the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading Card Game, two players battle against each other using strategies and techniques to summon monsters and activate various kinds of spells and traps. The object of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading Card Game is to win a match against your opponent. Each card battle against an opponent which determines a win or loss is called a duel. A match consists of 3 duels. The player who's the first to win 2 duels, or who has 1 win and 2 draws in a match, is declared the winner of the match, which means the player's the winner of the game. However, if the result of the 3 duels is 1 win, 1 loss and 1 draw, or 3 draws, then the match itself ends in a draw. Each player begins a duel with 8,000 life points. The life points gradually decrease due to the amount of damage you get from battle. If your opponent's life points are reduced to 0, you're the winner of the duel. It's also important to remember that if both you and your opponent's life points reach 0 at the same time, the duel ends in a draw. If you can't draw a card when you need to because you've run out of cards in the deck, you lose the duel, so be careful.
Chapter 2. Preparation. To begin a duel, you'll need a deck containing a minimum of 40 cards. The deck must contain at least 40 cards. Aside from this minimum limit, your deck can contain as many cards as you like. Also, you can have 15 additional cards in a separate pile. This is called the side deck. Between duels, you can exchange any card in your deck for any card in your side deck. But after exchanging the cards, you must have the same number of cards in your deck. This means the number of cards in the side deck must always be 15. You're allowed a maximum total of 3 copies of the same card in your deck and side deck combined. Also, in your combined deck and side deck, you can only have 1 copy of each limited card and up to 2 copies of each semi-limited card. The list of limited and semi-limited cards is periodically updated. To get the most recent information regarding the limited card list, as well as tournaments and much more, you can visit www.yugio-card.com. Check it out! Next, I'll explain the game mat. This field is where you place the cards and battle with them. The half of the field nearest you is your side of the field. Deck zone. Your deck is placed face down here. At the beginning of your turn, you draw 1 card from here. Monster card zone. This is the zone where you place a monster card. You can only have a maximum of 5 monster cards in the monster card zone at the same time. Spell and trap card zone. This is the place you can use spell and trap cards. You can only have a maximum of 5 cards in the spell and trap card zone at the same time. Field card zone. A field spell card is a special kind of spell card that can only be played here. Fusion deck zone. If you use fusion monster cards, put your fusion deck here. The fusion deck consists of a group of fusion monster cards. Graveyard. This is the zone where you put destroyed monster cards and used spell and trap cards. Chapter 3. Card details. To make a strong deck, you need to know all about the features of the cards. There are 3 main card types. They are monster cards, spell cards, and trap cards. To win a duel, you must construct a deck that's well balanced with these 3 types of cards, and you have to use them efficiently. Let's take a closer look at these cards so that you can develop your strategy. Monster cards. Monster cards are the main cards during a battle. The role of a monster card is to destroy your opponent's monster and reduce your opponent's life points. Of course, monster cards with higher attack points or defense points make a more devastating impact. There are various kinds of monsters, each with different features, so using them efficiently at the right time is the difference between victory and defeat. Effect monster cards. These monster cards have various effects. Even when compared to the effects of spell cards and trap cards, many effect monster cards have useful effects. An effect monster with low attack points and defense points can sometimes take an important role during the duel. Fusion monster cards. These monster cards are summoned by using 2 or more fusion material monsters along with a spell card such as Polymerization. Ritual monster cards. You can summon this special monster onto the field only when you fulfill the specific requirements by having the designated ritual spell card and the monster cards as a tribute. Next, I'll explain the information shown on each card. Attack points and defense points. Attack points and defense points are numbers used to judge the result of a battle between monsters. When the card is in attack position, the attack points are applied. When the card is in defense position, the defense points are applied. Level. Level indicates the strength of a monster. In general, the higher level monsters with lots of stars are stronger. Attribute. There are 6 different attributes. You have to pay special attention to the attribute because some spell cards are applied to a specific attribute. Type. Type shows the feature of a monster. There are 20 different types. You need to pay careful attention to the type because types are affected by specific spell cards. Spell cards. Spell cards have various effects, such as increasing your monster's attack or defense points, destroying or controlling your opponent's monster, restoring a monster from the graveyard, and much, much more. Usually, you can only use a spell card during your turn. Besides normal spell cards, there are continuous spell cards, equip spell cards, field spell cards, quick play spell cards, and ritual spell cards. If you check the icon on the cards, you can easily distinguish what kind of spell card it is. Trap cards. You must set trap cards face down on the field, and you can activate them after the start of your opponent's turn. The effects of trap cards are very similar to spell cards, but one different feature of trap cards is that if the timing's right, you can activate them even on your opponent's turn. In most cases, trap cards are the cards that can help you out when you're really in trouble. Besides normal trap cards, there are 2 other types of trap cards: continuous trap cards and counter trap cards. Is everything clear so far? Now, let's develop strategies that reflect your dueling style to create your own personal, powerful deck. Chapter 4. Phases of Gameplay. Alright, let's start dueling. In the beginning, don't forget to say hello to your opponent and shake hands. Next, shuffle your deck thoroughly and hand it to your opponent. After you received your opponent's deck, shuffle it a bit. This is called the cut. After the cut, return the decks to each other. Put your deck onto the deck zone in the game mat. If you use a fusion deck, place it face down on the fusion deck zone. Next, show your opponent that your side deck has exactly 15 cards. Count the cards face down. Okay, now decide who goes first with a coin toss or rock, paper, scissors. For later duels in the match, the loser of the previous duel decides who starts first. Both players draw 5 cards from the top of their own decks. These 5 cards are the first cards in your hand. Draw phase. In this phase, you draw 1 card per turn from the top of your own deck. Standby phase. If there are any cards on the field that specifically state certain actions must be taken during this phase, these must be dealt with here. If there is no such card, then let's move on to main phase 1. Main phase 1. During this phase, from your hand, you can normal summon or set a monster card, activate and set spell cards, and set trap cards. First off, let me explain the monster cards. There are only 2 ways to place a monster card onto the field from your hand during your turn. One way is called a normal summon, and the other is called a set. Placing a monster in face-up attack position from your hand is called a normal summon. Placing a monster in face-down defense position from your hand is called a set. When you normal summon a monster, put the monster card in your hand onto the field face-up and vertically. This indicates that the monster card is in attack position. When you set a monster, put the monster card in your hand onto the field face down and horizontally. The monster card is in defense position. During your turn, you can only place 1 monster in your hand onto the field. Remember, you cannot change the battle position of a monster during the same turn in which it was summoned or set. When you normal summon or set a high-level monster, you have to send 1 or more monsters on the field to the graveyard as a tribute. You can normal summon or set a monster whose level is 4 or lower directly from your hand. However, for a monster that is level 5 or 6, you must tribute 1 monster. For a monster that is level 7 or higher, you must tribute 2 monsters from your side of the field. In other words, you cannot normal summon or set a powerful high-level monster from your hand right off the bat. You can change the battle position of monster cards you placed on the field during previous turns, but remember, you can't change the battle position of monsters that have already attacked during the same turn. There are 2 other ways to summon a monster onto the field: flip summon and special summon. Also remember, you can't flip your monster face down again once it becomes face up due to a flip summon, your opponent's attack, or another card's effect. During the main phase of your turn, you can activate or set spell cards or set trap cards. When you activate a spell, put the card face up in the spell and trap card zone. To set a spell card, put the card face down in the spell and trap card zone. You can activate a spell card directly from your hand during your turn, but you must set a trap card on the field. After you activate and resolve the effect of spell or trap cards, these cards are destroyed and sent to the graveyard. The cards with equip or continuous icons remain on the field after you activate them until they are destroyed. Unlike monster cards, you can activate or set spell cards and trap cards as long as you have an extra space on the spell and trap card zone. However, you are unable to activate or set cards when the spell and trap card zone is filled with 5 cards. Field spell cards can only be used on the field card zone. The field spell card is not included in the 5-card limit of the spell and trap card zone. Only 1 active field spell card can exist on the entire field. If your opponent activates a new field spell card, your active field spell card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard. Battle phase. After main phase 1, you can battle against your opponent using your attack position monsters. This is called the battle phase. Each of your monsters in attack position can attack once during each of your turns. However, you do not have to conduct your battle phase if you don't want to. Depending on the situation, you can choose whether to attack or not. The starting player cannot conduct the battle phase during his or her first turn, but he or she can attack during the second turn. During the same turn, you can attack with as many monsters as you have in attack position on your side of the field. But you don't have to make all your monsters attack. You can decide which monsters to attack with depending on the situation. If there is a monster on your opponent's side of the field, your attack's target is that monster. Usually, you cannot attack your opponent's life points directly as long as there are any monsters on your opponent's side of the field. If there are no monsters on your opponent's side of the field, you can damage your opponent's life points directly. The target of each of your attacking monsters is only one monster or one player. This means one monster cannot attack multiple targets. We'll give you more details about the battle phase in the next chapter. Main Phase 2. In Main Phase 2, you can basically do the same things as in Main Phase 1. Once per turn, you can normal summon or set one monster and can change the battle position of your monsters that are on the field. However, keep in mind that you cannot change the battle position of monsters that have already attacked during this turn. End Phase. In this phase, announce the end of your turn to your opponent. If you have more than 6 cards in your hand, discard cards to the graveyard until only 6 cards remain in your hand. End of the duel. Each player alternately repeats the process from the draw phase to the end phase. When one player's life points reach 0, or when one player cannot draw a card, the winner is decided. That's the end of the duel. Chapter 5, Battle and Damage. Here we're going to explain more about the battle phase. The battle phase is conducted as follows. Start step. Declare that you're entering the battle phase. Battle step. Select and announce your attacking monster and its target. If you would like to attack with another monster, repeat this process. If there are no monsters on your opponent's side of the field, the target of the attack will be your opponent's life points. Damage step. When you attack a face-down monster, flip it face up so that you can check its card data. If there are any effects, such as flip effects, calculate the damage first and resolve the effects at the end of this step. Damage calculation. When your opponent's monster is in attack position, compare the attack points of both monsters. When your attacking monster's attack points are higher than the attack points of your opponent's monster is destroyed. Subtract the attack points of your opponent's monster from the attack points of your attacking monster and deduct the difference from your opponent's life points. When your attacking monster's attack points are equal to the attack points of your opponent's monster, neither player takes damage, but both monsters are destroyed. When your attacking monster's attack points are lower than the attack points of your opponent's monster, your monster is destroyed. Subtract the attack points of your attacking monster from the attack points of your opponent's monster and deduct the difference from your life points. When your opponent's monster is in defense position, compare the attack points of your attacking monster and the defense points of your opponent's monster. When your attacking monster's attack points are higher than the defense points of your opponent's monster is destroyed, but no damage is dealt to your opponent's life points. When your attacking monster's attack points are equal to the defense points of your opponent's monster, neither player takes damage and neither monster is destroyed. When your attacking monster's attack points are lower than the defense points of your opponent's monster, neither monster is destroyed. Subtract the attack points of your attacking monster from the defense points of your opponent's monster and deduct the difference from your life points. When there are no monsters in your opponent's side of the field, your attacking monster's attack points are deducted from your opponent's life points as direct damage. End step. Repeat the battle step and damage step as many times as you want until you don't have another monster to attack with. Announce the end of the battle phase to your opponent. Is everything we've talked about so far clear? We've explained the flow of a duel, but the best way to learn more is to actually play a duel. Chapter 6. More details and epilogue. In this chapter, I'm going to let you in on some secret information that will help you in your duels. I'll teach you how to construct a deck that'll work to your advantage. First, your chances of drawing an important card increase if you keep the number of cards in your deck close to 40. Of course, you're allowed to have as many cards as you want in your deck as long as there are at least 40 cards. However, you will have strategic disadvantages if there are too many cards in your deck. Also, you should keep the ratio of monster cards to spell and trap cards at 50-50. It's difficult to duel if there are too many monster cards or if there are too many spell and trap cards. It's important to make a well-balanced deck. When thinking about the balance of the deck, there are some cards you really should include. They can make it easier for you to duel against your opponent. One example is effect monster cards. They're monsters, but they have functions similar to spell and trap cards. I'm sure these effect monster cards have various effects that'll help you in your duels. Check the data on each card to learn more. One more thing to consider is the number of high-level monster cards in your deck. If you have too few low-level monsters, you'll often find it difficult to summon a high-level monster during crucial stages of the duel. You won't be able to win if you only use high-level monsters. Try to include as few high-level monsters as possible when constructing your deck. Your dueling skills have already improved by just watching this guide. But don't let your guard down. You should get more booster packs or exchange cards with your friends to enhance your deck. Also, collecting cards, hey, it's a lot of fun. The more you play this game with your friends, the more fun you'll have. Create your own original powerful deck by selecting from the many cards in your collection. Get the glory of becoming the Duelist King. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading Card Game. Okay, are you ready?